ARMY shocked. Jimin's sad reaction after Jungkook's flight yesterday. It happened so suddenly, so unexpectedly, that many fans are still struggling to process it. Jungkook's flight yesterday became the center of global attention. The reason was not just the sight of him leaving, but the heartbreaking reaction that followed. Jimin's sad expression, captured in subtle moments, that immediately set the entire fandom on fire. Why did Jimin look so heavy-hearted right after Jungkook's departure? Was it simply coincidence, or was there something deeper that unfolded in silence? The timing alone was enough to raise eyebrows. Jungkook boarded his flight yesterday under circumstances that felt rushed, almost as if every step was deliberately hidden from the public eye. For most artists, traveling is routine, but for Jungkook, nothing is ever just routine. Every movement sparks speculation, and this particular flight became even more controversial when fans noticed Jimin's visible sadness shortly afterward. His silence, his downcast gaze, his refusal to smile when he usually does. Everything created a storm of questions that no one seems able to answer clearly. Fans immediately flooded online spaces, posting screenshots, short clips, and emotional threads trying to decode the situation. Why was Jimin so quiet? Why did he look like he was carrying the weight of something unseen? Could his expression be directly linked to Jungkook's sudden flight yesterday? These questions are not small, and the intensity with which ARMY is dissecting every detail proves just how shocking the moment truly was. Observers pointed out that Jimin's reaction did not appear to be casual or coincidental. He wasn't simply tired, nor was he distracted. Instead, there was a heaviness in his demeanor that fans described as unmistakably sad. For ARMY, this was not the typical Jimin they knew. The performer who usually radiates warmth and comfort, even during challenging times. This was Jimin at his most vulnerable, and the fact that it came right after Jungkook's flight only fueled the growing speculation. Could it be that Jimin's silence held meaning that words could not capture? Fans are asking, was Jimin sending a message through his expressions? A message that was not meant to be spoken out loud, but felt deeply by those who know him best? The emotional intensity of the situation left many wondering whether something happened between the two, something private and deeply personal that triggered this chain of events. The contrast between Jungkook's flight and Jimin's visible sadness is too striking to ignore. Jungkook, stepping onto that plane, became a symbol of movement, distance, and departure. Jimin, in turn, became a symbol of stillness, sadness, and unanswered questions. Together, these images created a narrative so dramatic, so emotionally charged, that ARMY could not look away. What exactly tied these two events together? Why did it feel as though Jungkook's flight carried with it more weight than just a simple journey? Social media erupted with theories. Some fans insisted that Jimin's sadness reflected nothing more than exhaustion, perhaps the natural toll of constant schedules. But others argued that the timing was far too precise to be dismissed as random. Jimin's somber mood appeared almost immediately after Jungkook's departure, leaving ARMY to connect the dots in ways that felt both emotional and convincing. And in this fandom, timing is everything. Nothing is seen as accidental, and nothing is left without meaning. The emotional intensity of the ARMY reaction speaks volumes. Fans are not just observing, they are feeling, projecting, and empathizing with what they believe Jimin might be going through. Some wrote heartfelt posts expressing how seeing Jimin sad after Jungkook's flight made them feel as though a quiet story was unfolding behind closed doors. Others admitted that they could not shake the feeling that something important was being left unsaid, something that might change how people interpret both Jungkook's actions and Jimin's emotions. As the hours passed, discussions grew more heated. Could Jimin's sadness be a reflection of personal ties? Was he upset about Jungkook's sudden departure? Or was this simply one of those mysterious coincidences that fans tend to amplify with meaning? The truth remains unclear, but the impact is undeniable. ARMY is shaken, deeply affected, and unwilling to dismiss what they saw. Every angle of Jimin's expression has now been scrutinized. The smallest gestures, the way he avoided direct eye contact, the subtle shift in his posture, the rare absence of his signature smile, have all been treated as potential evidence of something larger. Fans are united in shock, yet divided in interpretation. Some call it a heartbreaking signal of emotional distance. Others argue it may simply be the weight of professional stress. But no matter the explanation, the sadness was real, and ARMY felt it in every captured frame. The question that lingers is simple yet haunting. Was Jimin's sadness really about Jungkook's flight yesterday? If so, what does that mean for the bond they share? And what untold story lies beneath the surface? Or was it something else entirely? An emotional weight unrelated to Jungkook yet magnified by the timing of events? For now, there are no official answers, only reactions, emotions, and endless speculation. Yet one thing is certain: Jungkook's flight yesterday was not just a journey from one place to another. It became a catalyst for one of the most emotionally charged moments in recent memory. A moment that left ARMY shocked and desperately searching for meaning in Jimin's sad reaction. The world is watching closely, waiting for clarity that may never come. Until then, the image of Jungkook's departure and Jimin's sadness will remain etched in the minds of fans everywhere. An unforgettable reminder that sometimes, the most powerful stories are told not through words, but through silence and sorrow. The shock has not faded. If anything, it has only deepened. After Jungkook's sudden flight yesterday, the weight of Jimin's sad reaction continues to dominate conversations across every corner of the fandom. What is striking is not only the sadness itself, but the persistence of that sadness in the minds of millions who witnessed it. ARMY has been left with an emotional puzzle, and the more they examine it, the more complex and unsettling it becomes. One of the most powerful elements in this unfolding drama is timing. Timing has always been critical in the way fans interpret events, and in this case, the alignment between Jungkook's flight and Jimin's visible sadness is impossible to dismiss. Fans believe that if these two events had occurred in isolation, they might not have carried the same weight. But the fact that they unfolded almost side by side has created a chain reaction of speculation and emotional intensity that no one can ignore. The question remains: can coincidence really explain such perfect alignment? Observers note that Jimin's sadness was not exaggerated or performative. It was subtle yet undeniable. A lowered gaze, a moment of silence, a refusal to mask what he was feeling. These small gestures became amplified under the spotlight of ARMY's attention. In many ways, this is what makes the situation so dramatic. The sadness was not announced, not explained, not justified. It was simply there, raw and unguarded, in a way that left fans breathless with shock. The flight itself adds another layer of mystery. Jungkook's departures have often been covered in the media, but this one carried an unusual air of secrecy. No elaborate appearances, no prolonged interactions, just a swift departure that felt almost evasive. Combined with Jimin's demeanor afterward, it paints a picture that is hauntingly ambiguous. Was Jungkook's flight connected to something bigger? Did Jimin know more than he could express? Or was this a silent story that the public was never meant to witness? Theories began to multiply. Some fans speculated that Jimin's sadness stemmed from personal ties, that perhaps he was emotionally affected by Jungkook leaving so suddenly. Others suggested that it was not about departure alone, but about what that departure symbolized: distance, separation, and perhaps a reminder of moments that cannot be controlled. These theories, while speculative, reflect the raw emotional state of ARMY, fans who have always been attuned to the unspoken emotions of their idols. But beyond theories, what is undeniable is the reaction itself. Jimin's sadness struck a chord because it was human, relatable, and painfully real. In a world where every move is scrutinized, where every emotion is questioned, Jimin's silent sorrow stood out as something that could not be staged. It was a rare glimpse into the unfiltered weight of emotion, and that glimpse was enough to leave millions shaken. The impact on ARMY has been massive. Emotional threads dominate online spaces, with fans expressing how deeply affected they were by Jimin's demeanor. Some admitted to crying after watching the clips, feeling as though they too were carrying the same heaviness. Others poured their emotions into long reflections, asking whether artists should be shielded from such invasive interpretation, or whether their raw emotions are a gift that fans are privileged to witness. The debate itself highlights just how powerful this moment has become. And yet, the silence remains. Neither Jungkook nor Jimin has offered words to explain or deny the connection. This silence has only fueled speculation further, creating a vacuum that fans fill with their own interpretations. For some, silence means confirmation, proof that something significant is being hidden. For others, silence is simply a sign of privacy, a reminder that not everything can or should be explained to the public. But for ARMY, silence is never empty. It is loaded with meaning, a canvas upon which endless theories are painted. The situation has even drawn attention from outside observers. Commentators noted that moments like these reveal the fragile balance between public image and personal emotion. Jimin's sadness, tied so closely in the public's eye to Jungkook's flight, highlights the way in which even private feelings can become global events. It raises pressing questions. How much of what fans interpret is true? How much is projection? And most importantly, why does it matter so much? It matters because fans care deeply, not just about the music or performances, but about the human beings behind them. For ARMY, the bond between Jungkook and Jimin is not just professional. It is personal, emotional, and symbolic. When one leaves and the other shows sadness, it becomes a story that transcends simple facts. It becomes a mirror for the emotions of millions who feel connected to them. That is why Jungkook's flight yesterday and Jimin's sadness afterward have become more than isolated incidents. Together, they form a narrative of departure and longing, silence and sorrow as the days unfold. The memory of this moment will not fade quickly. ARMY will continue to revisit the images, the clips, the expressions that defined it. They will continue to ask whether Jimin's sadness was a fleeting coincidence or a profound reflection of something larger. And until answers appear, if they ever do, the shock will remain, lingering like an unresolved chord in a song that refuses to end. Perhaps that is the true power of this moment. It is not about definitive answers or clear explanations. It is about the emotions it awakens, the questions it provokes, and the way it leaves fans suspended between certainty and doubt. Jungkook's flight yesterday may have been a simple journey on paper, but in reality, it became a turning point in the emotional narrative of ARMY. Jimin's sad reaction ensured that it would be remembered not as routine,